Hey guys, welcome back. I don't know what that was. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I have read in the first 7 months of this year. 2024 has not been a good reading month so far. I have been in a bit of a reading slump, and I'm going to blame that on the first book that I read this year. And I mentioned that in, I think, my fall, either my fall TBR or my September TBR. The first book that I read this year really did not set me off on a good note. First of all, I only read in the months between January through July, I have only read 12 books. And yeah. So in January, I read 3 books. The first book that I read was A Court of Silver Flames. This is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series, and I loved the first 4 books, even like the little mini novella, like holiday episode book. The first 4 books all got either 4 or 5 stars for me. When I realized who the 5th book was going to be centering around, I was very nervous. However, I had seen a lot of reviews where people were saying that the 5th book was their favorite book in the entire series. It's also the thickest book in the entire series. So I wouldn't say I had high hopes, but I was hoping that I would like it. I hated this book. I hated this book. And the thing is, I didn't hate it because it's poorly written. It's not poorly written. Although I did not like the content of the book. I think the writing was fine. I hate Nesta as a character. And I think the biggest problem I had with this book, and I don't have the physical copy with me, it's downstairs somewhere and it's not worth me going to find it. So I'll just put an image up here somewhere. I think the problem that I had with this book is that, to me, Nesta is very clearly a villain. In my opinion, her redeeming qualities are very few and far between, if they exist at all. She's a horrible person. She's incredibly toxic and abusive to literally everyone around her, including the one person she claims to care about. I know that this story is supposed to be like Nesta's redemption arc and focusing around the ups and downs of recovering from a traumatic experience and dealing with mental health issues. And I know that a lot of people feel like that the mental health aspect was really well done. In my opinion, I don't agree. I feel like, I'm trying to not really say anything too controversial, but I just feel like the entire book, Nesta was taking advantage of and abusing everyone in her life, and it felt like the book was trying to tell us that because she had had a traumatic experience, that makes it okay. And I don't necessarily think that was supposed to be the takeaway, but it kind of felt like that to me. Because she never actually did anything to redeem herself. Everyone was just like, oh, okay, well, you're gonna not be so horrible and verbally abusive. You're gonna cool it down a tad. Okay, well, we can just pretend you actually apologized to anyone at all. And then at the end of the book, her like big act of sacrifice wasn't actually a sacrifice, because the thing that she sacrificed she didn't want in the first place. I did not enjoy this book at all, which is very disappointing. Whenever the next book comes out, I will read it, but yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. So I this book is a 1-star read. And when I give a book a 1-star, that's me saying that this book is lucky I finished it. I hate read that book. And the only reason I didn't DNF it was because I loved the rest of the series so much that I was hoping and praying that at some point in the book it would redeem itself, and it never did. Anyway, the second book I read was Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I read the Through the Looking Glass half because I have already read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I have another book of that story, but this one has both in like it's got like illustrated images. Of course, it is an illustrated version. So I read Through the Looking Glass, and that was fine. It was okay. I think I liked the first one better, but it was fine. The third book that I read in January was A Court of Sugar and Spice by Rebecca F. Kennedy, and I'll put an image right here. It was a Kindle Unlimited book. I loved this book so much. This book is a spicy retelling of The Nutcracker, and I just really love how it was done. I think there are 4 or 5 books in this series, and I've read the first 3 so far. That was the first one in the series. The next book I read was A Study in Drowning, and I finished this one in March. And I gave this book 3 stars. So this is about a young woman in college, and she really wants to be an architect, but in this world, they're very sexist. So women are not allowed to attend the architecture college. So she is in the like writers college, and or no, I don't know. It's one way or the other. Honestly, like she wants to be a writer. That's what it is. She wants to be a writer. But women can't be writers. So she's in the architect college. Anyway, she signs up to do this architecture project on the house of her favorite author. And they choose her, but she also has like these weird dreams about a fairy king, and I don't know. The book was okay. It felt like it felt a little disjointed to me, honestly. It wasn't bad though. It was fine. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it, but it was okay. It felt like it was trying to be a supernatural thriller, and I guess like it kind of was a little bit. It just felt like it was trying to do too much in not enough time. But it wasn't bad. Anyway, it was fine. Let's go back to my list. Okay. I finished a second book in March, and that was did I even say who A Study in Drowning was by? Ava Reed. This is by Rachel Harrison, Cackle, and I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. This book is about a woman who is a teacher, and she just got out of a long-term relationship with her boyfriend. I can't remember if that was her fiance. They might have been engaged. I'm not sure, but we'll call him his boyfriend. I can't speak. We will call him her boyfriend. They broke up, and they were living together, and she had basically allowed their relationship to become her entire personality. So when they broke up, she really didn't know what to do. She was still obsessed with him, but she decided to move because she thought it would help her. and she moved to a small town, and she started renting a house from some woman. And then when she moved there, she started realizing that all of the townspeople were like really sketched out by this one other woman. And then she found out that this woman like owns basically the entire town. And the book is about her becoming friends with this woman and kind of discovering her secrets and discovering more about herself in that process as well. This book was very much so a like female empowerment type of story involving witches. And I really liked it. There are a couple gruesome parts, which I was not expecting. Honestly, I was kind of expecting this book to be a little bit more wholesome. But I loved it. In April, I actually read 4 books, which is wild. Especially considering what was going on in my life at that time. I'm really surprised that I finished that many books in April. The first one I read was Criers Cross by Lisa McMahon. And this book was good. What did I give this? I gave this book 4 stars. So this is about a high school student who has... What is the word for it? I'm like completely blanking. She's got like really high anxiety, but something else that has a specific name and I can't remember. OCD. She has OCD. And they're in a very small town where like literally everybody knows everybody. There's only one high school and there's like 10 kids in the class. It's like everybody in that town goes to class at the same time, and they like all fit in basically one room, classroom, schoolhouse type thing. How do I describe this book? This book is like supernatural suspense, but it all centers around the main character's best friend mysteriously going missing. And then there's a new family that moves into town, and she kind of makes friends with the kids of the family, kind of, sort of. And she goes into like this depression basically after her best friend disappears, which, understandable. But it all centers around this desk in the classroom. And because of her OCD, she goes into the classroom before anybody gets there every single day, straightens the desks, like looks at all the desks and everything. She knows every detail, like every scratch on the desk. And then one day, new scratches and carvings and things start to appear on her missing best friend's desk. And I really don't know how to say anything else about this book without giving away what happens. It's about her trying to solve the mystery of his disappearance. The next book I finished in April was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. And I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. If you're into like it was a very like cozy kind of book, I guess you would say. It was a witchy, cozy, I wouldn't say suspenseful, but maybe like slightly. Not really though. It's about this witch who lives in a world where, I'm the worst. Why am I even making book videos? I'm so bad at describing books. Scratch that. Don't listen to that. You want to watch my book videos. This is about a young woman who is in a coven, and the witch who raised her is the leader of the coven, and she's basically deemed that nobody is allowed to share the fact that they're a witch with anybody. Regular people are not allowed to know that witches exist. So she created a social media account to make witchy videos, because her assumption was that nobody is actually going to believe that she's really a witch, so she can share the fact that she's a witch with the world while also not really doing it, because there's no way anybody's going to believe she's a real witch. But one day someone does believe, and they contact her and they ask her to tutor these 3 young witches in magic. And in this world, witches are always orphaned. Their parents always die. Their moms specifically, I think, or maybe both their parents. I don't remember. I read this in April. But yeah, so she goes to this house and tutors these witches in magic, and you know, there's other things afoot. Things are happening. There's a dude there. She might like him. Who knows? You have to read it to find out. Next I read A Court of Hearts and Hunger, and that was book number 2. That was the sequel to A Court of Sugar and Spice by Rebecca F. Kennedy. And I give this one a 5-star. I love this one even more than the first book. In the first book, it's kind of focusing equally on the 2 sisters. So there's Clara, I can never say her name right, Clara, and I can't remember the other sister's name. Honestly, the other sister I find really annoying. But the second book was just about Clara. So, well, not just about her, but the other sister wasn't in the book, really. So, I liked this one a lot. This one was based on Alice in Wonderland. And then the next one is Pretty Girls Make Graves, and I had already read this book last year, but my husband and I listened to the audiobook together. But this is a dark academia book about a girl who gets a scholarship to go to a hoity-toity arts college in England, and she discovers some not so great happenings because her roommate goes missing. I feel like I should probably explain that book a little bit more, but I feel like anything that I could tell you would be a spoiler. Like, even if I told you the tropes, I feel like that would end up being a spoiler. But it is a smutty book. There's a hot priest. Now go. Okay. Then I read the 3rd book in the Rebecca Kennedy series, A City of Emeralds and Envy, and this one was a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. So that one's good. I also gave that one 5 stars. I think out of the 3, the second one was my favorite though. And then the last book I read in July, and that was The Art Thief by Michael Finkel, and this was a nonfiction about a man, Stefan Brutweiser or something like that, who stole a crap ton of art. It was about him and his girlfriend, how they stole art together, and his motivation behind it. And honestly, it was actually really interesting. The way that it was written also, I think, made it more interesting because it was kind of written in a storytelling way and less in a historical kind of way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I actually really enjoyed that book. Did I even give it a rating? I gave it 3 stars. So when I give a book 3 stars, it means that I enjoyed it. The book was fine. I don't really have any complaints. I wouldn't read it again, and I probably wouldn't recommend it unless I know that that genre and that like material is specifically something that the person I'm recommending something to would enjoy. If you are interested in art history, stuff like that, then I would recommend this book. Otherwise, you know, whatever. But yeah, those are all of the books that I read January through July. It's not very many. I just kind of felt like I should share what I finished because I do plan on getting back on my reading game, and I'll be doing hopefully monthly recaps on what I've read. So I just figured I would just lump all of this stuff together because it wasn't much and throw a video at you. Hopefully my rant on the first book didn't scare you away and you're still here. I'm also going to work on my skills at describing books. Maybe I should start writing synopses out before I start talking. That might be helpful. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know if you read any of these books below. Let me know if you share my thoughts on A Court of Silver Flames. Gosh, I couldn't even remember the name for a second. Or if you absolutely loved it. I know there's a lot of people who gave that book 5 stars. So I think I'm probably in the minority on that, which is totally fine. Totally fine. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time.